All right. Welcome, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. I just wanted to welcome everyone. My name is Julia Albright. I am here as the facilitator for the training today. Before we get started, I'd just like to thank all of you that are attending the Healthy Living Together webinar. Today's topic is back to school, which is such a pertinent topic at the moment. Today's presentation comes to us from the elementary principal at the Peck School District, Leann Kerr. And I'm really excited to kick us off today. Let me move my slide here. So Healthy Living Together, what is it? It's a project that was developed by McKenzie Health System in collaboration with several other community partners, such as Sanilac County Health Department, the MSU Extension, Start Collaborative, and the Sanilac County Community Mental Health, to help you find you and all the community a path to a healthier life. It was originally named Healthy Lifestyles. This program has evolved as we continue to provide valuable healthy living information to the community online. Before we begin, I'd just like to cover some of the housekeeping items on our agenda. Throughout the course of this presentation, everyone other than the speakers will be automatically muted. We will have time for Q&A function open for all questions and comments that you may have. You're able to kind of toggle, if you're on Zoom, I believe, there should be a Q&A option that you can open up separately. Those questions will come right to the presenters, and we'll field those at the end of our training. This event is recorded, and the link for the recording will be sent up with the following email. Today's agenda is just our presentation and then question and answer at the end. And then just to kind of give a little shout out, Start Collaborative I just started there, so I just wanted to introduce myself as the new director for Start Collaborative. We are housed through the ISD. My location is on Jackson Street, and we do a lot of great things around early development. So really focusing on pregnant women and then children birth to 5. And then I would like to pass over the mic to our elementary principal, Leann Kerr. Go ahead, Leann, and I'll stop my share.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for inviting me today. My name's Leann. As Julie mentioned, I'm the elementary principal in Peck, and I'm about to start my 18th first day of school as an educator. It'll be my 6th as the principal, and it is my 13th as a parent. I have 3 kids. Sawyer is going to 12th grade, Harper's going into 7th grade, and Wilder, our youngest, is going into 2nd. So I have a child in every building. And so I'm really excited to share some things that I've learned as I've worked with kids from all ages, from newborn to 12th grade in my career as an educator, and then of course parenting as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation, hopefully with no excitement here. All right. Sorry, I just need to slide over my screen here. All right, so back to school, it's that time. I know some districts are already back, not in our county, but in our neighboring ones, and we start back to school on Monday next week. I'm with teachers this week doing our professional development. It's an exciting time to be back. And I know probably one of the most pressing issues for people are school supplies. So many people question, why is this on the list? Why does the teacher need this? All of that type of thing. And I promise you, what you are bringing for your school supply list doesn't necessarily fund what the teacher needs for their classroom, but it's what your child needs to be successful in the classroom. And please just buy what's on the list. A lot of times we are very compelled to get things that are, fun and shiny and different, but now, like with the way our classrooms and things like that are set up, we don't always have desks that store items. Teachers have certain storage for their classroom, and there's a certain expectation for what they need. So if you have any questions about what's on your child's school list, you can always give their office a call at whatever local district your child attends. You can communicate with the teacher, and of course, if it's a financial burden, if you give your central or front office a call at whatever school you attend, I am very confident that they can help you with those types of items. So please do give the school a call if you have any questions or concerns on that. when we are back to school shopping, we get so into, I think, the rush and, we're buying jeans and sweaters and all that type of thing. Please know that in our buildings, it's generally quite warm. I know our building is not air conditioned in most classrooms, so our building's very warm till October. So my kids make do with their summer clothes until further into the fall, and that way I can speak out a little bit more growing. Their summer shorts and t-shirts are just fine. And so to keep your kids comfortable in the buildings, I think that it's very appropriate for your kiddos to push to school to finish out the end of the summer and even early fall. Another suggestion that I would have is while you're shopping for shoes, make sure that those shoes are comfortable and they're easy for play, especially for our little people who get recess time. And another suggestion that I would have is if your kiddo can't tie their shoes, if you could look for items that your children can manage on their own, like maybe a pair of Crocs or Hey Dudes, or even a Velcro or slip-on tennis shoe. All those things are great, especially for people who maybe are not able to manage those on their own. And then when you're getting backpacks and lunch bags, just make sure that those are functional, that they're large enough to house what the kids need to bring back and forth in their lunch or in their school supplies. And you really don't need a new backpack and lunchbox every year. My son has carried the same one. He's going to turn 8. He has carried the same backpack and lunchbox since he was 2.5. As long as they're lasting, it does not have to be brand new, and it's not a fashion show. So those would be my biggest suggestions. And most, I would say, I know all of my teachers at my school ask that we do not have backpacks with wheels. And that's just because we don't really have the space in the hallway to drag them unless it's a functionality issue with the kiddo. So just pay attention to what your school requires on that. And once you get your school supplies in order, you know what the kids need to bring. I know I get a lot of questions from my parents. How can I be better prepared to start the school year? And I think that this really goes to any age group. So I'm not just speaking from the viewpoint of an elementary principal. I've taught high school, I've coached junior high. But 3 things that I would really suggest doing at home just to get ready to start that impending school year. I know that my summertime routine with my kids is not very structured. Summer is fun, and we don't necessarily keep the same schedules we do during the school year. But when we start to get back into the swing of things, these are some things that I would suggest maybe trying out. And the first one is to foster independence. So this might be more for my little learners, but make sure that your kids can put on their own shoes, that the shoes that they have are manageable for them. Same thing with clothes, buttons, snaps, rompers. They're super cute and amazing, but sometimes it's really hard to manage in the school day, and they might need assistance from the teachers and staff. And not that the teachers and staff won't help, but we have had times when kids have come out of the bathroom and they're half clothed because they can't get their bibs back up or something of that nature. And while it's not any big deal, it does help if we think about that when we are purchasing new school clothes or getting our kids dressed for school. Same thing with bags or their lunch bags. Make sure that your kid knows how to open them on their own. If they can't, maybe practice that a little bit. One thing that I think is a great tip that I learned a long time ago was to practice eating lunch at home out of your lunch bag. So pack a lunch for lunch that day for your kiddo. And when they sit down at the table, they can practice unzipping and opening up the items that you're packing. And if they can't pack it, or if they can't open up what you've packed, maybe help them through it, see if they can do it independently. One model that we typically use at school is you try it first and then I'll help you. So that would be a great terminology to use with your kids. And then if they can't do it, show them how to advocate for themselves. If they can't get something open, how would you ask a teacher? And show them, raise your hand when the adult comes over. They'll help you open up your Capri Sun or your fruit snacks or whatever the case may be. But those are fun things to practice over the summer that might get them more ready. One big thing that I think would help any kid is for parents and households to allow for some boredom. Our kids struggle, I think, immensely with waiting, with patience, and it's because we live in an instant gratification world. I know when I was a kid, I had to watch TV commercials. I had to wait for my favorite show to be on, my favorite song to be on the radio, just like most parents today have. And our kids don't really understand much wait time. So providing that at home, making them wait, having them self-select activities to do instead of you planning for them would be very helpful. If they come up to you, Mom, I'm bored, well, what can you do to alleviate the boredom? And you not provide that entertainment or activity, let them pick it for themselves. And I think if we provide that more at home, it does help kids focus easier when they're at school because they are accustomed to not being entertained all the time by something or someone. So that would be a big tip for me for kiddos at school. And then the last thing, I'm sure that everybody's heard this, but the limiting of screen time. If our kids are on devices all day long, it's very hard to grasp their attention if we're trying to teach a math lesson or something like that in school. Again, it's that allowing for boredom. And a big thing is sleep with devices. So there's lots of studies out there that show that the blue light's not good for us, that it makes us not be sleepy, inhibits that. So back off on the screen time before bed, hopefully a couple hours before, and set firm limits. If you only want your kiddo on the device for 2 hours a day, only let them be on for 2 hours a day because they're going to get limits during the school day as well. And I know now, I have the capability to shut down my kids' apps on their phones, their Kindle or whatever it is. So it's kind of easy to monitor that. And then I kind of alluded to this, but when we are embarking on the new school year, I'm sure that my kids will be in for a very rude awakening come next week because, they've been lounging around all summer and they've had their free will while I'm at work and things like that. So one thing that we just started yesterday actually was starting our bedtime routine up again. So try to do that sometime in August. I mean, here we are, we're a week away. If you can start that routine and get back in the swing of things, I think that's super helpful rather than starting from point zero on the first day of school. I already mentioned the practice of opening up lunches and the packaging independently. And another tip that I would suggest, because it is used a lot in classrooms for all age levels, are setting timers for chores and activities. So, we have 15 minutes, let's get this upstairs of the house whipped into shape. And, whether it's a cell phone timer or maybe you've got a Google Home or I have an old school magnet one for my son on my door of my living room. There's all different ways that you can do that, but that can be an effective practice that will help get back into the swing of things for school. Or if they've never had a school experience, give them that idea of things are timed and we only have a certain amount of time for every activity. As parents, and this is something that not only as a teacher, but as a parent of teens and tweens that I'm really starting to be hyper aware of, is just educating myself. And I don't know everything. I will never claim to be an expert on, well, some of these maybe, like the student information system at school, I might be a little bit of an expert at, but really knowing what my kids are doing or what they might be exposed to is going to help me, help them, help their teachers in their schooling experience. So the first one is just knowing about social media, what your kids are exposed to, what you are allowing, and making sure that you're monitoring that. I have had issues happening with children as young as 3rd grade on Snapchat. And I always talk to the parents about that because I want to make sure that they are aware that their kid is accessing that, not just the device, but the media itself and what types of things can be shared on any social media platform. And there's many out there that I don't even know about, I'm sure, but Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram are really kind of the 4 biggest that we see. There's another one out there called Be Real, where you take a picture of what you're doing currently and what your face looks like while doing it. And I'm sure there's many more, but just knowing what your children have access to and what they're on, I think will really help their school experience, because it is very hard when you're a developing person to separate the real world and my real friends from my social media and my Facebook friends or social media friends. It can really impact them emotionally, the way that they behave at school. And some of those commentary and behaviors and things like that are talked about on the social media can translate and occur during the school day too, if they go to school with these kids. So just be cognizant of that. Educate yourself as much as you can. And I always tell parents, be nosy. That phone, as long as you're paying for it, that is yours. So I think that they're your child. You own them till they're 18. You're responsible for them till they're 18. Be nosy. I'd rather be nosy than not know something really significant. The second thing that can be really helpful to you is to educate yourself on how your school's student information system works. I know at Peck we use Skyward, and that's how we do attendance, grading, things of that nature. And I think all of our other Sanilac County schools use that as well. And if you don't know how to access it or you have questions about it, talk to your school's office or your teacher, and they can help you navigate that. And like I said, you can see what your kids' grades are, what their attendance looks like, and you don't have to wait for a notice from the school. It's kind of in real time, and you can just log in and see it. One of the big things that I've really been talking about with my kids lately, and I think, this has changed as the years have gone on, recreational substances. There's all types of things out there that we know that kids hear about, could potentially be exposed to. And, when I was a kid, it was drugs and alcohol. And now that's really branched out. There's all different things. There's vape pens and edibles, different things of that nature. And I think just knowing what's out there, what your kids might be exposed to, is really important. And to talk to them about it before they go to school, in case they're ever encountering a situation where they're offered it or they see somebody doing it and they just understand the risk involved, and to talk to an adult if they see somebody using it or it's happening. Because as time has gone on, the substances are sneakier and sneakier and easier to camouflage, easier to transport. And, I think almost any age kid could be exposed to it at some point. So I think as a parent, that's a really important one. And there's so many new things that come out every day that we don't even know about or know the risk of, really. And then the last thing that I think is so important, and I don't think that people really know this side of it, as an educator, like, we want to partner with our parents and our families. And so, like, when a teacher calls you and they want to talk to you about something, whether it's positive or negative in the classroom or outside of it, it's nerve-wracking to make that phone call. People don't want to call and give bad news and anything like that. And so when those contacts are happening, it's not because anybody wants to be mean or cause a poor relationship. We just want to talk to you about it, and we want to help, and we want to work together because we are on the same team for your kid. And so I think that's really important to remember, is that the school or the people who are educating your kiddo, they're on your team. We're here to support each other. And so I have many times called a parent and asked for ideas if I'm struggling with a kiddo, or maybe I just want to celebrate great news. So know that your educational team who your child works with are partners with you, and you can always reach out to them if you have problems, even at home. I do that a lot with certain kids. If I know that they're giving their mom a hard time at home, I'm going to bring that up at school, and I'm going to be like, I'm on your mom's team, and you're not going to talk to her like that. And it's really powerful when you're able to partner together. And so I think I talked about most of these, but don't be a bulldozer parent. I know it's so hard. And I know that for myself personally, I so badly want my kids to not encounter obstacles, but I also know that they're never going to grow if they don't make a mistake, or if I move every obstacle out of their way. I know that my kids aren't perfect, and I'm here to work with their team to help with solutions if they do struggle. And that's a mindset that can really help you and your kiddo while they're in school at any age. Support and assist your kiddo. I have a lot of times where your kids aren't really properly dressed for school. Maybe an adult wasn't able to take a peek at them before they got on the bus, but just kind of make sure your kids have what they need. Are they wearing socks? Are they wearing underwear? Are they dressed in clothes? Sometimes kids hop on the bus with their pajamas on and their parents don't even realize it. So just knowing and being aware of you taking a peek at your kiddo before they leave can really help your kid be successful in school. Oh, Siri heard me, sorry. And then, of course, the basic needs. School is here, obviously, for learning, but there's a lot of times where we're having to meet some basic needs at the school level before we can have any learning take place. So most families do this, but if we continue to do this and be partners, if basic needs can be met at home, their food, their clothing, good sleep patterns, security, love, it'll be much easier for them to translate into the classroom. And we'll be able to get more learning done if they're ready to rock and roll. Obviously, academics is important, and it's wonderful when I have a new kiddo come in and they have all these academic skill sets. They know everything they need to know academically. But here's a list of things that are also very important that really impede learning for your kiddo if they can't do these things. And oftentimes we spend much time working on these with our students. We do a lot of social emotional learning at every grade level. But it's because these things are so important, and it gets in the way of sometimes a student's learning, but also in the way of other kids in the classrooms learning. So, safe hands, a kind voice, being creative, knowing how to play. How do you use a kitchen set? How do you imaginary play with a friend? A lot of those skills are things that we're teaching in school. And that could be something that could be partnered at home, and that would be really helpful. Speaking respectfully to other adults and other students, following directions when asked, being able to regulate yourself when you're upset or scared, and then, of course, practicing coping skills when we are struggling with our emotions. So those are all things that we actually work a lot on at school. And if we get partnership at home to work on these things, I think it would make school a much less challenging place for many of our kiddos. And then for my staff, if I have anybody who is not just a teacher, but a parapro, a librarian, school secretary, other administrators, take time for yourself. Sometimes it's very hard to shut those boundaries down, and I have been learning that myself very much so. And so this is just kind of a little checklist of things that you can do to try and keep the zen in your world, because it's about to be a stressful school year. It always is. It's like a sprint from the time we come in August to Christmas break, it seems like. So keep in mind that you are human. Keep in mind that your students' team are human, and they're going to behave as such, and they need downtime too. They need breaks. They might not respond to an email that you send to your teacher at 8 o'clock at night, or me, because they're spending time with their family. And if you are an educator, I would strongly suggest that you start implementing those boundaries for yourself. I know I'm going to try and be better at that this school year to give my family the me that they deserve. And so just to end it and to wrap it all up, just if you could help us by meeting basic needs at home, being involved in your child's preparation for their school year and their day, partnering with us as educators, with everybody who's on your child's team, I think that we'll all have a fabulous school year. And I am very excited. I think it'll be a positive one, and I'm very much looking forward to it. So I hope everybody has a fantastic school year. And if you do have any questions, type those in and let Julia know, and then I'll be here to answer anything that you have.
Thank you, Leann. That was great. I always enjoy this conversation, especially as a parent of a couple of kiddos. Hearing from the principal, it's always just a great, basic relationship to kind of foster as with your school admin and teachers and such. So, yes. Like Leann said, if you had any questions, there's a little toggle at the bottom of Zoom. It's called Q&A. If you click that button, the questions should filter in to the facilitators here. Just because this is going to be recorded, Leann, we'll go ahead and go through some of the questions that were presented before.
Yeah,
if that's
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So one of the first questions is, how do you register your child for specifically Peck or any school district? What would be like your go-to way of getting your kids signed up?
Yep. First and foremost, I would just give the office a call for whatever local district you're at, so that whoever, usually it's the school secretary who picks up, they can have a packet ready for you and available to you. Some schools probably do online registration. We do ours paper pencil still. We are able to, if you were to register at our school, you can print off our documents online, but just give the school a heads up, even so that they know to add you to a list, so that we can get your phone number in case we have any questions. And generally what we do is we have them make an appointment with Miss Sandy, and then they can come in and get the paperwork. They can fill it out there, they can take it home. But just so, the other thing I hate to do to people is, come all the way here and maybe our office is closed, or somebody's at lunch and they can't get, that type of thing. So if you just call ahead so they know you're coming, I think that's a big thing. So make that appointment, and then you'll have paperwork to fill out in some shape or form. And then one thing that sometimes people don't realize that they need to register their kiddo is we need to see an original birth certificate. We do make a copy of that in our office to put in their file, but that is a necessity to register your child for school. And I know my one little one, I did not think about that, and I didn't pick up her birth certificate till she was ready to head to kindergarten. So sometimes we don't have that documentation, so make sure that you have that. Another thing that they'll ask for is proof of residency. So a copy of your driver's license or state ID. And if you don't have that, there's certain pieces of mail that can be used to identify you and where you live. So those are two things that I would definitely suggest having when you register a kid first. And then once the paperwork is done, they'll let you know that you're all set to go and tell you who the teacher is and all that good stuff. So that's kind of the process.
So my mind, Leanne, goes, because like I said before, our initiative is birth to 5 kiddos, so
Mhm.
before they enter that kindergarten door. I
Yeah.
wonder what options you have for that kind of age group. Do you,
Yeah. So,
I thought at one
yeah.
time there was like childcare there.
Yep, we have at our building, we have childcare that's birth to 12, and then we have our GSRP programs, and our tuition preschool this year will be run by our daycare, Auntie M's daycare. So that's a little change for us here, but it's really a similar protocol. There's registration packets to fill out, whether they're going to daycare or the tuition preschool or even GSRP. Again, I would call the office just so they know that you're coming and kind of give you so they know what paperwork you need as well, because it does vary depending on your age. And then if you are somebody who has a kiddo who will be 3 by September 1st, I'm sorry, I lied, 4 by September 1st, they would be eligible for the GSRP program, which is the free preschool program. And you, in addition to the paperwork, you would still need a proof of residency, but also you'll need some proof of income for that programming as well. And that's only for the GSRP or early on type of preschool programming, but know that that might be a requirement if that's the program you're seeking for your little one.
Are you saying too, Leanne, that there's before and after school care?
In Peck, yes, we do have before and after school care. It is run by our, I'm sorry, I keep pointing because it's right there down the hallway from my office. Our in-house daycare does that. Yep. So she provides before and after care for families who need it. I have quite a few kids who exercise that in our building.
That's a wonderful asset to the Peck
It really is.
community.
It's a program. I think that this is her 3rd year in our building, and it's really been wonderful. We used to staff that, our staff staffed it, and it's been really wonderful to have the daycare staff being able to provide that. And then there's lots of kids who use it. Our line to go down to the daycare, I feel like every day is like a mile long. There's a lot of kids who use it.
Wonderful. Thank you for that
Yeah.
info. There was also some questions about like allergies, how to
Mm,
like medication management. What are some thoughts
sure.
around how the school and the kind of partner on that?
Yep. If your child has any allergy at all, please make sure that you denote that on any of their paperwork. Um, one thing that I don't want to say I have an increase of, but one thing that I feel like I have several of are students with like very emergent like bee allergies, and they need an EpiPen. So if your child has some type of allergy where an EpiPen needs to be administered, please, please, please have that be like the first conversation that you have with your front office when you're getting registered, or if you find out there's a new allergy that happened maybe while over the summer, and make sure that we have one to administer here. So we have several of those. And then there's paperwork that your doctor has to sign for us to administer any type of medication to a kid, whether it's EpiPen, whether it's seizure medication, any of it. ADHD med, whatever the case may be, there's a special form that the office has for any school district, and that does need to be signed by the doctor listing out what the medication is. And then the other thing is, if you have prescription medication, it must have a label on it that has your child's name and what the dosage is. You can't just bring me in a Ziploc bag and tell me it's, oh gosh, I don't know. I can't even think of a medicine name right now, but I can't just take, as much as I want to trust you, and I do trust you, I can't administer anything to a child that does not have their name on the label with the dosing medication. There's a separate form that offices have on hand. Like if you have, like if your kiddo needs to be given a Tylenol or something like that. And that's a different form that most offices keep on hand if your kiddo needs something like that, but it does need to be filled out ahead of time. And then I feel like there was another part to that. Oh, allergies. And then to go back to the allergies, I forgot the other part. If it's a food allergy, make sure that everything is on the school form that shows that. But one of the things that has to happen in order for school lunches to jive with that allergy need is there's a special form that does need to be filled out. Your doctor has to sign it, and that's for, lactose intolerance, any type of, gluten allergy, whatever. If they're going to eat hot lunch, make sure that you get that form from your school and have them fill it out, because if we go through the federal school lunch program, there is special paperwork that needs to be signed so they can have an alternate lunch. So that's a very important one.
That's all good information. Sounds like a lot of like medical management too, to like
Yeah.
parents and sharing that information, and their doctor, I'm sure, probably is pretty
Yes,
in tune with
exactly. And
that
that's what,
as well.
and just keep those lines of communication open, and make, my biggest thing is just that communication piece with the school. Please let us know. Like I don't know, I couldn't think of anything scarier than having a kid, I don't know, come to school and have some severe allergy and maybe it wasn't communicated or whatever, and then we don't know. And then it's like, oh, they have hives because they, I don't know, had a brownie that had a walnut in it or something. I don't know. Luckily, that's never happened to me, thankfully. But just make sure that you are in communication with your school about it.
I have a random question for you, Leann.
Mhm.
If you could really like think about some of like the top things that parents can do. Like I'm thinking of what are some of the top things that parents can do to be really involved in the school? Like, is it be a coach? Is it join the parent teacher association? What are some things that come to mind for you?
I think that both of those things are fantastic. Um, I know right now there's a posting out for a coach at our school. It's at the junior high level, but I think that that's one of the most powerful things you can do as a parent is to be involved in like the extracurriculars of the school. Because I think that you really get a taste for, not just the kids and their personalities and the behaviors, or you know what I mean, how to manage kids, but then also on that facet of parents too, and how you have to be involved with both stakeholders. And I think it's a great experience to have just to kind of get a feel for like, what your child's teacher might go through or me as the principal. So I love that when we have parents who want to be involved and help coach, even if it's at the volunteer level and it's like, the T-ball team for your kindergartner. I think that that's fantastic. And I think that that's a great idea for involvement. One thing that I would suggest on that too is if you call your local office, whatever school you go to, and you talk to their secretary and be like, hey, I'd be interested in volunteering. What do you need? I always need volunteers at my school. Like we run the Monster Mash at Halloween time, and then we have like a Littles and Loved Ones dance in the spring. I always can use help. Like if somebody wants to come and help me stuff my teacher's mailboxes with treats or something like that, I would love somebody to call and offer that type of assistance. So if you are looking to help out your school, whether it's high school, elementary school, whatever the case may be, sometimes people just call and they're like, hey, I'd like to make a donation. Is there something you can use this for? And I tell you what, 9 times out of 10, I use my donations to buy like socks, underwear, spare changes of clothes for kids, or like maybe prizes for our PBIS cart. So if you can't volunteer, physically, but you want to somehow help in some way, that's a great way. Or if you are like, well, what can I do for Teacher Appreciation Week? Is there anything you need? I have so many wonderful parents who are willing, they bring in coffee pods and, candy bars, stuff like that, that I can give to my staff. And that's super appreciated too. But yeah, I love the idea of volunteering, like to coach, or, if you have spare time and want to come and work in the classroom or the library or something like that, just give your school a call. There are special to volunteer in a school or to coach. There is a background check that has to be completed and passed before you can do that. But yeah, that's just something that you can talk to the office about.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Anything else that you're thinking of, Leann, that you're like, we're in your presentation and like, I should touch on this.
I think for me, those were kind of the biggest. There's just so many factors that are outside of the school day that can help us have a more smooth school year and school day. And if people help me in that regard, I think it will make everybody's school year a little smoother. And I think that kids are better learners when they're regulated and feel secure in all assets of their life, whether it's home or school. And I appreciate all of my wonderful parents and staff and families, because we do have a great school community. And these are just some tips that I was thinking of that I do think make things a little smoother.
I'm hoping to have you back for another topic next year. I think this is great.
Oh,
And it's like perfect timing, right? Like August, back to school. But yeah, be thinking over the the next year about, you know, education and informing the community. I would love to hear more of your thoughts on that. I'm sure you could write a book on.
Well, I like to write, maybe someday when I have a little bit more spare time.
Yeah, you sound busy at home too, so not just at school.
Yeah, but you know, it keeps us young, right? You got to stay busy.
Sure. All right, well, that sounds like, I feel like we kind of covered a lot. I appreciate you coming in today, Leann. I was gonna say something else, but now I don't remember. So I wanted to thank everyone who joined and who will watch the Zoom recording for attending our Healthy Lifestyles presentation today by the elementary school principal in Peck, Leann Kerr. Our next webinar will be September 18th. This will also be at the noon hour or lunch hour. And the topic is going to be eating healthy on a budget. I'm not sure who's presenting, but there will be some messaging coming out from McKenzie on how to sign up and more information on that. So thank you all for coming.